Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming to watch this video. I'm going to show you how to make 7 different edible gummy iPhones. Be sure to watch the whole video and let me know which one you think turned out the best. First edible iPhone I'm going to show you is made out of Coke bottle gummies. The beauty of these little Coke bottles is that they're squishy, but they're also a little bit firm. So I'm thinking that this might be a pretty good iPhone. First, you're gonna need a case. I used an iPhone case, but of course you guys can use any phone case that you have. Make sure that you wash it properly, okay? Because that can be pretty gross if you end up putting melted candy in a dirty little phone case. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this phone case look like a Coke bottle. So I'm gonna cut all these little Coke bottles in half. You wanna make sure that the top part has absolutely no brown stuff on it so you get that nice, clear Coke bottle look. Okay, so I have all the tops of the Coke bottles, and this ended up being about 1/3 cup, and then I will later on microwave the bottoms. So now I'm going to prep my phone case so you can see all the holes that we have to deal with here, or else your candy is just going to seep out. So the technique that I came up with is using saran wrap to cover up the holes and then using duct tape to stick on the saran wrap. So it's not going to look pretty, but it does its job. If you guys have other ways of doing it, feel free to let me know what works, and yeah, I'm totally open to ideas. And the last piece of tape, and here is my super pretty, just kidding, my phone case, but it is ready to go. All the holes are covered up. So make sure that you guys have some oil, as the candy tends to stick, so you don't want that to happen. So just make sure you guys coat it in oil. Even all the little button creases inside, just make sure you get it right in there, because you want to make sure that the candy pops out super easy. Alright, all ready to microwave. I do recommend using a container that is microwavable safe, obviously, but also with a handle, as sometimes the container can get quite hot and you don't want that. So you're just going to pour it in. This stuff does thicken quite quickly, so you want to make sure that you're ready to move once it's out. Stir it up if you need to prior to pouring it in. For this stuff, by the way, I microwave it every 15 seconds and I check and stir. And towards the end, if you want to do that every 5 or 10 seconds, that would probably be a smart idea, because sometimes, you guys, it does boil over and you do not want that. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't seep into my other half, so I'm just sort of gently pushing it down here, ensuring that it also doesn't spill over the edge. So this is kind of tricky to do. These Coke bottles are super gooey, like this is constantly sticking to the stick. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I ended up using a little spatula and I coated that in oil, and that seemed to work to keep that, you know, gooey stuff out of the other half. So I'm just going to use a little Shopkins here to prop it up so it kind of stays towards the other end. I not quickly, but I eventually put this in the fridge to make sure that it got hard. So I'm pretty happy with how this is looking, so I'm going to get my other part of the Coke bottle, the dark part, ready. And same thing, microwave it, check it every 10 to 15 seconds, stir it up. Do whatever you need to do to ensure that your candy does not burn. Stir it up and pour it in, and oh my goodness, this looks so delicious. And this stuff again is so sticky, so just be prepared with whatever little stirring stick you have that it's gonna stick like crazy. So I'm putting my finger at the end there because it started seeping out of the hole, but it was all good. I put it in the fridge and then I took it out when I knew it was ready, and this is where the fun part happens. So we're gonna take off the tape carefully, because sometimes the candy does seep out, and then we're gonna reveal our first edible iPhone, and I will let you know what I think about the Coke bottle one. So you're gonna see with these little holes that sometimes the candy sticks or seeps out, and sometimes it might get stuck to your plastic wrap. So I always have a pair of scissors on hand to cut the candy away if necessary, but just make sure that you guys are really careful, because these totally work and they're super awesome, and the best part is that they're so delicious. So once your candy is ready to come out of the case, you want to make sure that you pick off all the candy that's on the case still, as if you try to take it out, it's gonna inhibit the candy from coming out. So carefully peel the candy out. Now, depending on the candy that you use, some of them stretch immediately, so I found this one actually to be stretching right away. You can see right when I pull it there, I was like, whoa. So you wanna be careful with that, because obviously you wanna try to maintain the shape. So despite the fact that this is super stretchy, I think it looks pretty cool, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. So next step is to put our screen on, and I'm going to use cake fondant for that, as cake fondant allows the phone to still be totally bendable and flexible. So if you've never heard or seen cake fondant, it's pretty much icing that's a little bit harder but softer, I don't know, but you use it on those super fancy cakes. You can just roll out this whole thing and then put it on, and it creates a nice sort of smooth look. So I'm just going to cut off a chunk, and then I'm going to roll it out, and I printed off a screen for my measurement to ensure that it was the right size. I think this is a 4.7 phone, so you gotta make sure everything's perfect, right? So you're gonna roll it out, measure it out, and cut it, and then the beauty of sticking fondant to candy is that it actually sticks right away, and you don't need any icing to glue it together, or I didn't even use water, it just stuck right away. And that's pretty much it. And if you're wondering why I'm keeping it on the case, is just because this one is so stretchy that I want to make sure that I keep the shape. And I'm going to put it back in the fridge for a little bit, and then it'll be good to go. And make sure you guys keep watching, for I have 6 more to show you, and you'll see what ones I recommend making or not. Some of them definitely work better than others. The next one that I'm going to make is out of Gummy Bears, and I'm actually going to draw the apps on the screen using edible markers. So make sure you guys watch that one for sure. Alright, next edible iPhone will be made out of Gummy Bears, and personally I think this is the one that turned out the best, so for sure make sure you watch this one. I'm going to use green Gummy Bears, mainly because I'm going to mix yellow with it, and white because this is 1 pack of Gummy Bears, and I think I'll need all those colors to fit in my iPhone. Okay, we're good to go, so microwaving it, checking it every 15 seconds, and stirring it as well to make sure everything's melted, and make sure that you guys stir it every 15 seconds while you're checking it in the microwave as well. I have my case ready to go. Again, doesn't look pretty, but it does the trick, and just carefully pour it in there. And this one's a lot easier because it's just one color, so you can just pour it all in there. Unfortunately, this was the right amount of gummies. I was a little bit worried at first, but it's starting to look pretty cool. Before I put it in the fridge, I always try to squeeze in on those holes just to make sure that there's nothing seeping out, and sometimes I just hold it for a bit to allow it to harden, just so it doesn't keep seeping out the holes. This whole duct tape surrounding thing isn't perfect, so yeah, just trying to keep the candy in is key. So once you're good to go, put it in the fridge until it's hard, and then you can take it out. Okay, so that was about 20-30 minutes later. Obviously just check it and don't take it out if it still feels soft. You can use it in or put it in the freezer as well, and then just make sure that if it comes out hard, you want to make sure you thaw it out just a little bit prior to taking it out. You want it to be, you know, gummy as you take it out of the case so it doesn't crack. Okay, so just a reminder to peel the tape and the saran wrap off pretty carefully, and if there's any candy that's in your way of taking it out, just snip that stuff right off, and you're good to go. One thing I forgot to mention when I was making the Coke bottle one is that I have 2 little slits in my iPhone case just because it's so hard, so having those little slits helps me peel it back off the candy. Okay, so just carefully peeling it out because you don't know if it's going to go crazy and stretch all over the place, but I think Gummy Bears, out of all the candies that I'm going to use, ends up being the best. I think it looks good, it's shiny, that clear, I think that's super cool, and it holds its shape really well, and you can see the detail of the camera and all the other buttons really work out well. So I think this might be my top pick, but you guys let me know after watching all of them. Okay, so just when you thought that it couldn't get any cooler, we're gonna make it even more awesome, and we're gonna make this look like a real iPhone. So I'm gonna add a little spot up here, a little bit of more fondant for the speaker, and a little power button at the bottom. And then we're gonna use decorating markers. So these are edible markers that you can use for decorating cupcakes and cakes and stuff like that. And you get those from Michael's, and I'm gonna use those to draw some apps. And here we have the completed, totally edible iPhone. And now, time to check out more candies. Okay, we're gonna make a toffee iPhone. So I know I mentioned that Gummy Bears worked the best, but this worked pretty good too, and this was probably my favorite in terms of taste and everything like that. Okay, so I've peeled off the wrappers of all my delicious toffees. Try not to eat too many when you guys do this. They're so yummy. So I'm just gonna zip through the whole process so you guys can see the end product, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, super happy with how this toffee one turned out, putting on the iPhone face. And the cool thing about this one, you guys, is that if you bend it and twist it, it'll actually stay in that shape, whereas the gummy ones obviously bounce back to their original shape. So this one is pretty cool too. Okay, let's try wine gums and see how they work. So this is what wine gums look when they're melted. Isn't that crazy? So it's kind of like this tar-like texture, chunky, sticky. At this point I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to turn out well because it's not just going to pour in there. I check this every 10 to 15 seconds because it looks like it doesn't melt in the microwave, but it is. You got to make sure you're stirring it. And so this big blob, I'm just going to scoop it in there, and then I'm going to try my best to smush it all the way around. But so far, this is not looking good, and this is not as easy as the other ones. Okay, so finally, after trying to make it as good as possible, this is the wine gum iPhone. I had a really hard time trying to smooth out the candy. It was just such a weird texture when working with it being melted. So I don't know if I'd recommend using this one. Obviously, if you only have wine gums at your house, then sure. It still ends up being bendable and edible, of course, but just really hard to, you know, put in the case. Okay, next I'm going to use Jolly Rancher sour gummies, which are so good. I'm really impressed with how Jolly Rancher made these gummies taste exactly like Jolly Rancher. I was very happy with that. However, I was going to do all 4 colors because they were just all delicious, but they were the same texture as wine gums when they melted. So it was kind of chunky and really hard to spread around, so I just decided I'm going to do 3 colors because I just couldn't take it anymore. And also for these candies, as well as the wine gums, it was really hard to melt the candy out of the bowl. So just warning you ahead of time, because I know that's a big area of concern for some people commenting, is how to get the candy out of the bowl. Most candies just melt away quite easily with hot water. Whereas this I found so sticky, and there was like chunks left in my bowl still, even though it was soaking under hot water for a long time. So here we go. And the finished product, this one ended up being super chunky as well, so I'm not really recommending this one, and I didn't even want to bend it because I was worried about the 3 colors coming apart. So yeah, if this is the only thing you have in the house, then of course it's gonna work, but if not, I recommend one of the other ones. Next, we're gonna make an iPhone using Lifesaver Gummies. Okay, so this one looks pretty cool. It's super sort of squishy, slimy, but the weird part about Lifesaver Gummies is that if you leave it out, it actually just sort of turns into like a big blob. Like, obviously it doesn't change its shape too much, but you couldn't even see the buttons anymore after I had left it on the counter for a bit. So this is probably my least favorite or least successful one that I had. But it does look cool when you first take it out of the case for sure, but just so you know, I mean, I guess you could eat it right away. That would solve all problems, but yeah, I just left it out on the plate waiting for the other videos, and it just sort of turned into this big sort of blob. Okay, and finally our 7th and final iPhone is going to be made out of Starbursts. So I think I'm going to go with the orange color and see how this one works out. Starburst works pretty good. It's pretty easy to take out, and it's pretty firm, so it holds its shape. It doesn't stretch out as soon as you take it out. And it's so shiny and clear. I'm pretty happy with this. This is almost first place with the Gummy Bears, but I still think I picked the Gummy Bears. Okay, and that's all 7. So we have our Coke bottle one, We have our Gummy Bear one. We have our Wine Gum one. We have our Sour Jolly Rancher one. We have our Starbursts, Toffee, and the Lifesaver. Let me know in the comment section, you guys, which one you like the best and which one you think turned out the best. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching this whole video. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks!